Hey y'all, I'm Jerdy, and in this video, we're going to talk about a lot of what's been data mined and leaked on the Phase 8 PTR of Season of Discovery. Now, before we get started, this is a lot of information and a lot of major spoilers are in this video, like who the raid bosses are, new zones, what the tier sets look like. So if you do not want to know any of that, stop watching this video right now. That's my only warning I'm going to give. Drop a like and a sub if you're new to the channel. But with that being said, let's get on with the video. So let's first talk about the new zone, New Avalon. Now, New Avalon shouldn't be unfamiliar to WoW veterans, as this is the Death Knight starting zone introduced in Wrath of the Lich King. And speaking of Wrath of the Lich King, there's also some familiar faces that were in that zone, like the Mayor Quimby. But the first thing you'll notice when entering the zone is that it's a sanctuary, meaning you cannot engage in PvP here, which, as someone who plays on Crusader Strike NA, thank God. I know, I picked the PvP server, whatever, it's just nice to get a little break from it in this next phase. But the weird thing about this sanctuary is that everyone's hostile here. All the Scarlet Crusade members in this zone do not like you and want you to die, which is kind of weird, right? Considering we just helped them with the Argent Dawn on killing Kel'Thuzad and the enemies of Naxxramas. Why do they hate us? But we learn more about this zone from a quest that starts in Phase 7 called Scarlet Activities. The quest chain progresses in Phase 8, and we learn more about our friends Caldoran and Beatrix and the Scarlet Army and New Avalon and Tyr's Hand, and why are they against us when we just helped them? We learn a lot about that and more through this quest chain. But as you progress through the quest chain, you will get an on-use item that allows you to disguise yourself as a Scarlet Crusade member and make yourself friendly to the mobs of Tyr's Hand and New Avalon. But with this item, you need 4 pieces of the crafted Scarlet military set. Where do we get the patterns for these pieces? The answer is off the mobs of New Avalon. They all have a chance to drop tailoring, leatherworking, and blacksmithing patterns to craft these pieces. And a big shout out to Makra on the Light Club Discord for sending me 4 pieces of this set that he farmed for me to go explore. I would not be able to make this video if it wasn't for you, so thank you. But when exploring the zone with the disguise, you unlock a lot of cool features, like access to a bank in New Avalon, access to an alchemy lab in New Avalon, the first non-instanced alchemy lab, access to your tier vendor, access to what I believe are going to be daily profession quests, as well as an inn that you currently can't set your Hearthstone to. And you'll notice that all the doors to the houses in the zone are closed, but when you have the disguise on, you can interact with the doors, but all of them are locked. You can see what's in them by zoning through them as a ghost, but for now, we don't know how to unlock these doors. And maybe they won't even be locked when the phase is live. When exploring New Avalon though, you'll notice some interesting things like these floating trees with these tombstone rune things around them. And if you stay there too long, they'll just zap you and one-shot you. So I really want to know what that's about. But that's just everything so far that I could find out about this new zone. I did forget to mention though before we move on that the dogs that pat around do see through your disguise. If they attack you, they will break your disguise and make you hostile towards everybody again. So as you're in this zone, you have to watch out for the dogs. But now let's move on to the raid itself. And from what I've seen from other people's leaks and data mines, wall jumping, etc., it looks like Tyr's Hand and New Avalon, or at least New Avalon, will be part of this raid, but an instanced version. If you were exploring New Avalon, you saw that part of it was walled off and looked like there was a battlefield and there was war and destruction behind it. That, I believe, is also part of the raid, with much more behind it, including a new monastery for the Scarlet Crusade called the Avalon Monastery. And the reason we can confirm this is that when you were in the zone, you got a debuff similar to the Naxxramas debuff, Authority of the Frozen Wastes, except this one has a 20% dodge reduction and a 5% chance to get hit. Now, is this the baseline debuff that everybody's going to get? Or is this only the hardest difficulty debuff? Are there even hard modes in this version? Because this is a brand new raid, not an old one that Blizzard gets to tinker with. We don't know these answers yet, but we do know that this debuff does exist in the raid. But let's talk about the raid bosses now. And this is what I'm so excited for. And there are 3 in particular that I'm really excited about. I want to talk about. We're going to list them right now in no particular order. There's Balnazar, who we kind of saw coming, right? Beatrix, who we kind of saw coming, right? This one right here, though, Lillian Voss. And if you don't know who that is, she's a major retail character with a lot of lore for the undead. This is just named Beastmaster. I'm sure there's more to that. Mason, I'm sure there's more to that. Solistrasa, that's a dragon, right? The Reborn Council, and then Caldoran, which we kind of saw coming, right? I am interested on how Beatrix and Caldoran are against us. Are they Dreadlords like Balnazar, or is there something more that we don't know about them? Or are they tricked or mind controlled to get to fight them? I guess we'll have to find out, right? But the three that I'm most interested in are Lillian Voss, the Reborn Council, and Solistrasa. I really want to know how this dragon is involved. And it sounds like a red dragon to me, right? With that name. But Lillian Voss is huge. If you don't know her lore, she was a member of the Scarlet Crusade who was killed and revived as an undead by the Valkyr in Cataclysm. Are we the reason why she dies? Do we kill the human version of Lillian Voss? Are we the bad guys? And then the Reborn Council, that's what I am most hyped about, because I want to know who is being reborn. And I think it's going to be the members of the Scarlet Monastery, the bosses we fought in there, like Doan, Bishaz, Herod, Whitemane. And what kind of confirms this for me were datamined items that had their names on it. But also, remember, if you don't know your WoW lore, Whitemane survived the first raid on the Scarlet Monastery. You only kill her, I believe, in the Mists of Pandaria version. So maybe, if they're tying the lore to this correctly, Whitemane revived all the members of the Scarlet Monastery that we killed back when we were level 30-ish, and now we fight them again in this raid as a council fight. That right there, just, ooh, instant goosebumps. I mean, I could be wrong, right? But I think this is going to be something that has been killed either in World of Warcraft lore or just Warcraft lore in general. I'm excited to see who is on this Reborn Council. And with the new raid comes new tier sets, and these tier sets look insanely cool. Now this one right here is the Paladin one. You don't see the Warrior one here. It's the exact same look, but instead of white, it's black. So every armor type might have the same model, but it's going to be a different color. And if you really look at it, you'll notice that these are reskinned versions of the tier 5 sets from the Burning Crusade. I'm not too mad about that, because I'm just saying, I mean, just look at them. That's sick. And pair that with the new mount models that were data mined that we might be able to get. That, dude, that looks so cool. I want to rock all of that. That is just Giga Paladin aesthetics maxing, right? That just looks so badass. And with some more information on new items, we also see new trinkets. I'm going to assume that all the epic ones, and some of these have the sanctified label on them, are going to be from the raid. I know it's kind of an obvious guess, right? But these blue ones right here, I think are going to be added onto the Real vendor, because we have a better version of Hand of Justice right here called Hand of Reborn Justice. And I think they're doing this to answer players who are annoyed by still having to go out and farm Hand of Justice from the Emperor in Blackrock Depths, because for a lot of classes, that's still one of their best trinkets. So having a better version of it that you can get through Reals will be very, very welcome by players. Now, again, I don't know that for sure. Maybe there's a new dungeon, but I think this is going to be on the Real vendor. And of course, there's also a plethora of new weapons that were data mined, and some things that got my attention were Queen's Fall, which now works with King's Fall as a 2-set that gives warriors, rogues, and hunters each a unique 2-set effect. Solistra, Fang of the First Light, which obviously drops off that dragon boss we talked about earlier. And this one at the bottom really grabbed my interest right here, Putris's Poker. Now, if you don't know who Putris is, he was one of the undead in the Forsaken who was the main culprit for the Wrathgate incident in Wrath of the Lich King. So I want to know why this item has his name on it. Is he involved in this somehow? But I know there's one particular item, or I guess in this case items, that people really want to know about and want to know how to get it. That, of course, is the Ashbringer, or in this case, the Ashbringers, because there's like 5 different versions data mined on the PTR. And as somebody who happens to have 2 himself, I want to know more about these Ashbringers. There's the Inert Ashbringer, the Hilt of the Ashbringer, the Ashbringer, the Corrupted Ashbringer, and then the legendary and sanctified version of the Corrupted Ashbringer. That's a lot of Ashbringers. I thought 2 was a lot, and here we have 5 now. Now, are all of these going to be available? Maybe not. Maybe some are just involved in a quest chain, so you have part of it on you. and you use this part to upgrade the whole thing. Who knows? But it does appear that yes, we are going to be getting the Ashbringer in this next phase. And if you don't think that this is a Paladin prio weapon, you're crazy. And then some more exciting stuff that was data mined. We are getting feasts in phase 8 of Season of Discovery. There are 2 different feasts and then 3 unique foods on top of that. And I think there will be a daily quest in New Avalon for the spices for this feast. And then one of my favorite features of Wrath of the Lich King is now coming in Season of Discovery, and that's Nitro boosts. And what's really cool about this is that in SAW, there are 2 versions of Nitro boosts. There's going to be a belt enchant that only engineers get to use, but for non-engineers, you can use an on-use Nitro boost. And I think that's really smart by Blizzard because it rewards the engineer for having this profession, but it also doesn't force non-engineers to feel like they have to respec into engineering to get this really cool effect. They'll just have to buy it when they want to use it. I don't know about y'all, but like I said earlier, that was one of my favorite things about Wrath, was using my Nitro boost to help me out with a certain mechanic or go save somebody if they were in trouble on an encounter in a raid. So I'm excited again to get to use this now in Season of Discovery. And as if that wasn't enough, we might also be going to Mount Hyjal either in this phase or later on in Season of Discovery. This NPC was found on the PTR in Everlook, Thessaly Crow, and that name should be familiar to WoW veterans because she was a pretty important quest giver on Cataclysm's version of Mount Hyjal. And if you've explored up top on Mount Hyjal on Classic before, you would notice that there were barriers saying don't go past here. Those are now gone on the PTR. And players who keep exploring will find this Viscidus-like mob that's not targetable though in the middle of this giant crater in Hyjal. What is this mob for? Is this a new world boss we're going to get to fight? Is this a whole new quest hub zone? Are we just getting a whole brand new zone to explore in Season of Discovery? A big shout out to Wowhead and the Secret Finding Discord for getting these pictures up to everybody because again, this is just so hype. Like if that wasn't enough, if everything else wasn't enough, there's also Mount Hyjal too, apparently. And the last thing I'll talk about now are these 2 NPCs, Tio Hammerstorm and Gregory, and their dialogue that hints at potentially Alliance getting Shamans and Horde getting Paladins. Now, Gregory shouldn't be unfamiliar to members of this channel as he has been involved in our rune quests and in our Truth Bearer quest chain when he was the Truth Bearer and is a heavy Paladin lore character in Season of Discovery. Tio Hammerstorm, however, is a little more obvious because he is the shaman trainer for dwarves in Cataclysm. But when you talk to both of them, they very much hint that they are able to use the opposite faction's powers. Like Gregory is a Paladin who wants other members of the undead to join the light, and Tio Hammerstorm for some reason feels really staticky and can snap and make electricity. Now, Agron just posted something that kind of might be throwing us for a loop. Maybe he's trying to play us, that said, no, don't expect this. But it's kind of hard to not expect this when these guys right here have dialogue like this. I think that's everything from me, you guys. There is a lot more out there, I'm sure. But that's all I was able to find and look up from Discords and being in the PTR itself. This is so damn cool. And I'm trying to hide it, but you can see by this stupid smile that I am so hyped for this. The one thing I will say though is Blizzard, take your time. And I said this about Naxxramas as well. Take your time. We've all wanted a Scarlet theme raid for I don't know how many years, ever since WoW started. And for those of us who are still playing SOD, we are rewarded with this raid and we thank you for that. I'm sure it's going to be awesome, but take your time. Naxx is still pretty fresh in my opinion. It's been like what, 6-7 weeks? There are still people who want to farm out Naxx a little more. There are still people who haven't killed Mythic KT yet. So you have time before the player base starts really getting bored of Naxxramas. And I just want to make sure this raid is polished. Are we getting a PTR for the raid? Who knows, right? They kept Kara off the PTR and that dungeon was awesome, but it did come with some really unfortunate bugs, like the last 2 bosses potentially just not spawning. And that's a big deal for a dungeon. It's an even bigger deal for a raid. So again, I just want this to be really, really good. I know based on how good Kara was that this raid will probably be awesome as well. I just want to make sure it's ready for the public. Players will wait if it's going to be great. But with that being said, thank y'all for stopping by and saying hi. Follow me on twitch.tv/dirtyjd. Leave a like if you like this video. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Leave a comment down below on what you're most hyped about from this video. I haven't posted a video in forever, and that's just because work is work and it was a lot. But some good personal news for me. My band got their best results at their concert and sight reading evaluation. So that's where all my stress and work was put onto. I feel it's appropriate, right? Not to work on YouTube, but to work on your real job with students and other humans, little humans that rely on you. But now that that's over, you'll probably see more reoccurring videos at a faster pace than these past 3 months. I'm just rambling though. Thank y'all for watching, and I will see y'all in the next video.